Is Michael on?
No.
Jarek?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm making a list of all the restaurants I'm going to, and I'm getting on buses, planes, and trains when they let us out.
Who's gonna go on a plane?
I was gonna say, it must be takeout.
March.
I have a plan.
Here he comes. He's coming.
Okay. All right. So I don't need to do an invocation if he's on.
He just joined. He's
Okay.
eating something.
All right. Okay, there he is.
Michael?
Morning, Michael. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Good morning.
Trivia question. Before we begin, I have a trivia question. Who was it who would open his radio broadcasts by saying, "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea"?
I don't know.
Walter Winchell.
Oh, my. I used to listen to him.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and get rolling. Michael will do the invocation, Terry the pledge.
Hold on. Oh, my goodness. I lost you guys. Okay,
You can see and hear you.
Michael, I have one if you need it.
I got it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Please watch over all the citizens living with illness today. God bless Berrien County and our families. Amen.
Amen.
Will you please join with me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Woof, woof.
I apologize. My dog seems to want to join in pledging its allegiance as well.
That's good.
All right, patriotic dog.
Needs no apology.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chicory. And please state where you're at.
Here, live, Zoom in St. Joseph, Michigan. St. Joseph, Michigan.
Curran,
Via Zoom, Niles Township, Michigan.
Freely,
Present, Baroda Township via Zoom.
Harrison,
Here via Zoom in Lincoln Township.
Hugo.
Present via Zoom, City of St. Joseph.
Where is he? One more time, Chris.
I'm in the city of St. Joseph.
Hinkleman. Majeri,
Michael Majerick zooming in from Niles, Michigan.
Meeks,
Here via Zoom from Benton Charter Township.
Scott,
Present via Zoom from New Buffalo Township.
Ballrat,
Zooming live from Coloma and the #1 district in Berrien County.
Yarborough,
Present via City of Benton Harbor via Zoom.
Elliott.
Present here in the boardroom.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
Thank you. Minutes from
11.
December 3rd. Pardon me?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would make a motion. This is Commissioner Freeland that we accept the December 3rd minutes.
Thank you. Is there support?
I support Michael Majerick.
Moved by Freeling, supported by Majerick. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering. Chickering.
Trying. Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hugo.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Yes. Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Walrat.
Affirmative.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. I understand we have no communications this
have
week.
one.
Or we do now?
We do
Okay.
now. I sent an email to you with one communication this morning. It's the form letter email from the email address advocacy@bluestatedigital.com with the name and no address regarding Michiganians deserve a fair election in November and beyond, received on December 9th. That's all.
Very good, thank you. Next item on the agenda is to name Warren Parrish as the assessor for the county. Do you choose to accept this designation?
It's, to clarify, this is a discussion to nominate a designated assessor, and it's not me.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm sorry, well, let's have the discussion then.
Or a presentation, rather.
And just to clarify for the chair and for the board, the intent here is you're going to see Warren today. Warren will then be hosting a public meeting tomorrow where we notify all of the local units within the county. And then we'll be asking Warren to come back next week for final action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I've got a presentation here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is something that we brought to the attention of the Finance Committee a couple of weeks ago, a number of weeks ago, that we wanted to bring to the attention of the full board now because unfortunately, this is one of the many things that has worked its way into the stuff that we need to get done by the end of the year. So that's why we're having this presentation now. Originally, if you recall, there was a couple, I guess it was a few years ago now, there was some bills that were proposing to move a number of assessing responsibilities to the county level. And at the time, the bill wasn't well received. You actually passed a resolution stating your opposition to it. This is statewide, it wasn't well received. So most of what was in that bill got trimmed out, 90% of it. But one of the things that actually made it through is this designated assessor, which we now have to address. So with that said, what is the designated assessor? So for some of this presentation, I'm probably just going to be reading my slides, but bear with me as I do. This is a new thing. This is a role that was required as part of Public Act 660 that I was referring to a moment ago. This is something that's intended as a last resort to address issues of non-compliance. And I'll elaborate on that in a little bit, but I'm specifically talking about non-compliance with respect to assessing districts, as in cities and townships. This person would assume all of the duties and responsibilities of the assessor of record if they become activated for a minimum of 5 years. There are some circumstances wherein they may agree to do it for a short period, or there's extenuating circumstances as far as if somebody becomes, say, incapacitated or they fail to retain the necessary credentials. But under normal circumstances, it would be for a 5-year period. and this person is nominated via an interlocal agreement. That's something that we're going to be talking about here today and ultimately pursuing. And then ultimately, the State Tax Commission approves our nominee. So what is non-compliance? This is an important thing for me to dive into because this is really the only time that this becomes relevant. What happens is the state goes in and they conduct their audits. There's this thing called the audit of minimum assessing requirements. Historically, they've done this on a 5-year rotation. We just had our last one in 2019. So theoretically, we're not going to see another audit until, say, 2024. So in year one, they come through, they do their audits. This is something that pertains to the cities and townships, the assessing districts, and then the county. In an audit year, the STC may find that an assessing unit is non-compliant. And their language, I'm going to read it verbatim, but their language says that non-compliance may exist if they have identified deficiencies taken together that pose a significant risk that the assessing district is unable to perform the assessing function in conformity with the state constitution and state statute. So what exactly that means is a bit of a moving target, and truly it's the state's audit, so I can't really speak to it, only the state can. But an example of non-compliance, possibly the most typical, is to say they failed to complete a valuation of of land. They didn't do a land value analysis, which is something that's required. So I'm just going to pick on that example going forward. So in the event in an audit year that a local municipality fails to comply, they are issued this notice of non-compliance and they submit a corrective action plan. What's important to note here is it's specific. You've been told how you failed to comply, and you've been provided an opportunity to address that and spell out how you are in the future going to remedy the non-compliance. So then what happens is the next year, the state comes back and they do their follow-up review. And they say, hey, all right, you had this issue, you had this plan to fix it. Did you do that? Well, if you did, then you get a notice of substantial compliance. We can all go home. But if you failed to, in year 2, correct that compliance issue, you get a second notice of non-compliance. At this point, the assessing district is given a choice. They can either hire a new assessor, or they can go with this new designated assessor. They're not necessarily compelled to do that at this point. They have the latitude and discretion to go out and find their own new assessor. That assessor may be the designated assessor if they want, and it may not even be through the interlocal agreement that I'm going to discuss. It's completely up to their individual discretion at this point. So then moving ahead to year 3, state conducts another follow-up review. Okay, you've had this issue from a few years back. You said you were going to fix it. You said how you were going to fix it. You failed to fix it in year 2. Now you have a new assessor. Have you fixed it in year 3? If yes, great. You're now in substantial compliance. If not, now and only now are you required to go with this new designated assessor position. So what I really want to emphasize is that this is a last resort, and it doesn't happen initially or automatically. It only happens after years of unresolved, unaddressed non-compliance. So the assessing district will have multiple opportunities to fix this. And why I'm spending so much time talking about this is because, as Brian mentioned at the beginning, I'll be presenting this same information to the local assessing districts, hopefully tomorrow, at least that's the plan. And it's going to be very relevant to them because it's on their plate. This is something that they have to deal with. So that's why I really wanted to hammer the specifics of compliance. I've included in the PowerPoint a flow chart of what happens each year in evaluating and assessing districts' compliance and what the options are and the outcomes. This is something the state put together. I threw it in there, but it's not worth really scrutinizing right now because it just outlines what I've already just gone over. But it's in there. I just wanted to bring your attention to it. So, okay, moving on. How do we select the designated assessor? Well, that's this interlocal agreement that I keep talking about. That specifically is an agreement between the County Board of Commissioners, a majority of the assessing districts, and the proposed designated assessor, which again is why we'll be having this meeting tomorrow with the assessing districts. They'll get the same information that I'm giving you. Today, I'll be making a recommendation to you, but in order to make this agreement happen, we need a majority of the assessing districts to be on board with it. So that's the thing I'm trying to highlight here. And then ultimately the State Tax Commission approves it. So moving on, well, what's the cost of having a designated assessor? Nothing to anybody. The costs only kick in if they're activated. And again, that only occurs if after continued unresolved non-compliance after several years. So that's a really important thing to note. Now, in the event that they are activated as a designated assessor, the interlocal agreement kicks in, and the interlocal agreement is required to outline fees and rates. So they're in there as part of it. And so that's the only time that a cost is assumed. And in that case, the cost is assumed by the assessing district who has fallen out of compliance, who has failed to remedy that compliance. So the cost to the county is always zero. It's, I guess, my point to this Board of Commissioners. Of note, some designated assessors are charging a retainer fee, even if they never get activated and the interlocal agreement never kicks in. But something that's nice for what I'm recommending, our proposed designated assessor for Berrien County, they're not proposing a retainer fee. So that's a nice thing. That's a good thing for us. All right, so what happens if we fail to nominate somebody? Well, then the state's gonna nominate somebody, or appoint somebody rather, an interim person. And I've been told by state officials that we don't want that to happen because it's probably gonna be a lot more expensive if in fact they end up having to be activated, and they will likely have higher retainer costs associated. So it's in everyone's best interest that we proceed with a nomination, as we are required to. So who can be our designated assessor? Well, of course, in Berrien County, we need a level 4 assessor to do it. That's the Michigan Master Assessing Officer. We only have 2. We've got myself and the Lake Township Assessor. Without going into detail or specifics, we have each respectfully declined.
Excuse me, Mr. Perry.
Commissioner Yarborough?
Yes,
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
say again, it's you and who else are number 4?
The Lake Township Assessor. And that
Lake,
is because of the Cook Plan.
okay, thank you.
Certainly. And again, we have each declined the designated assessor role. There's more that goes into that, but that's the high level need to know. But worth mentioning, John Bauman, he is a local Berrien County assessor, and he is poised to potentially obtain his level 4 credentials next month. That's a really big deal. He has gone through all of the hard stuff to get the level 4. That's all behind him, and now he's just looking at a final exam. And so I have a high level of confidence that he'll be getting it, and that's exciting news. So that gives us another potential option of a person to nominate. The main takeaway from this is, as you know, and has been brought to your attention at repeated past occasions, level 4s are a rarity, and they're hard to come by. So we don't really have a lot of options that are readily available here. So then here's my recommendation to you. nominate John Bauman as the Berrien County designated assessor. As I mentioned a moment ago, he's very close to obtaining his level 4. He is the only level 4 or prospective level 4 in Berrien County who has expressed a willingness to do this. And he is extremely well qualified. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit. We're really fortunate that we have somebody who is credentialed as well as he is with his resume, which I believe you have. He's provided us with a cover letter and a resume, and I think Annette, she's nodding at me. So that's been forwarded. There are a number of counties in the state right now who are scrambling, struggling to find somebody who's willing to do this. So not only do we have somebody who's willing to do this, we have somebody who's an excellent candidate for doing this. It's often possible that the candidate isn't well credentialed, but he is. He would actually be an excellent person for this. And I think another thing that's really important to emphasize is that he's somebody who is willing to do this in good faith and not necessarily just as somebody who's looking to scoop up more assessing contracts. He's got his head in the right place. So the other thing I really want to emphasize, and this is a very big deal in my mind, is that the Berrien County Assessors Association supports John Bauman in this role. So your community of assessors have collectively gotten behind this individual and said, yes, he should do it. He would be great for it. That's a big deal. These are the experts that the local townships and cities rely on for assessing decisions, and they've made one. They've said, look, this is the guy. So I would really want to just draw your attention to that fact. And then lastly, the proposed interlocal agreement that we'll be following up with you next week to hopefully have you approve via resolution is reasonable. It's consistent with what I'm seeing in other counties' designated assessor agreements, and it's just reasonable. So this is by far the easiest, shortest, most efficient route to fulfilling this requirement. If I can be direct, this isn't something that really anyone wants to deal with, but we're very fortunate that we have this option. So to me, it's a slam dunk. And that's all I have for at least the presentation.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mamie Yarbrough,
Yes, ma'am.
City of Benton Harbor. Did I see where there was $40-something thousand for something, Warren? What was
Do you have any more context?
No, I was reading through what you all sent us. And I thought it said 40,000 something. I didn't know what that was for. I thought he would be paid.
I'm not sure what that would have been referring to. I just, as I'm talking here, I'm thumbing down through the proposed interlocal agreement.
I think it's in the resolution.
Could that be a different resolution than what this is?
Wasn't that book? It wasn't what you just showed us. It's something before that. How is he going to be paid then?
We're looking into it.
Hey, how would he be paid? How would he do this?
So that's a great question. And there's a lot of questions surrounding that and other things with this because it's new. This is unprecedented. But the costs of paying the designated assessor would be paid by the township or city that has been compelled to adopt them as the local assessor of record. So they would be paid by the township or city at the rates that are outlined in the in the interlocal agreement.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I address the board?
Well, Terry and then the administrator.
Absolutely. I just had one question for Warren. Talking about fee structure, is that something that's established by the state, or is that something that was determined and then ultimately this local agreement will be what will be agreed upon?
The state has intentionally distanced themselves from any specific numbers. So it's completely up to the collective county and majority of assessing districts in adopting the interlocal agreement and the proposed designated assessor to come up with these rates. So right now, they're in there. They're rates that, I guess to just be completely honest with you, I put together based on my observations of what other counties are doing. Because again, there's no precedent for this. There's no standard, this is what you should charge. But at the same time, we're required to put them in. So this and many other things are ambiguous here. And we're all just kind of like, well, we got to do this. So here we are. Not the best answer, but that's what it is.
I appreciate that answer. I appreciate your honesty with regards to it. And I certainly know that we in Berrien County are in good hands with you and your staff leading this charge. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Brian?
Yeah, so members of the board, just to summarize, Berrien County is required by state law to create this position. We have found a local representative who is willing to take this on. At this time, there is no cost to the county. There are no costs to the local units. The only time that there would then be cost passed to the local units if that local unit is found to be deficient on their reporting to the state of Michigan. So just to stress, we've got to do this. We've got a local guy who's willing to do it. It's not going to cost the county anything now. And more than likely, we won't have to institute this anytime soon.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Wayne, can a designated assessor such as Mr. Bauman represent more than one county? Could he be appointed to more than one county to represent as a DA?
There's nothing preventing an individual from being the designated assessor for multiple counties. And some assessing professionals do are becoming the designated assessor for multiple counties. To my knowledge, John Bauman is not. He is strictly a Berrien County assessor and would be the Berrien County designated assessor. Currently, I'm not, that doesn't preclude that he could in the future take on some additional roles, but not currently.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and as I read it and looked at it, he will represent every community in Berrien County. Is that what the explanation you're going to do tomorrow, Warren? And they have to sign and agree that he will be the designated assessor?
That is correct. Though I want to stress again, it only becomes truly relevant in the event that a local unit falls out of compliance and stays out of compliance and fails to address the compliance. So honestly, it would not surprise me if this never becomes relevant in Berrien County. We've got a good group of assessors, and we just completed our audit in 2019. We're that's behind us. We're good. I don't see any reason why we won't have a similar outcome the next time we're audited. I don't have my crystal ball, but I would be more surprised if this ever becomes relevant. It is entirely likely that no one will ever pay a cent to the designated assessor.
Okay.
But nonetheless, this is something we have to have in place by statute.
Other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Scott, Warren, I know this, since you're sitting there, I have to ask the question. How are our own staff coming along with improving their credentials?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because actually, as of either last week or the week before, I don't recall, 2 of our appraiser trainees have completed the Michigan Certified Assessing Officer program and are now certified assessors. And that's a really big deal. It's something I'm very proud of. They are worthy of being commended for that. It's a big deal. So to that extent, they're moving along. I mean, that's a good thing. But my concern there, and I don't want to derail this, is that's the first level, and our longtime issue is that the higher levels are where we're deficient. So it's typical that every couple of years we'll have some trainees come in and then they get certified. But what's not typical is that they continue into the higher levels.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I know it had nothing to do with our discussion today, but since you're sitting there, I had to ask that question because we should all be proud of our staff that they're furthering their education and knowledge in that department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Talented group. The interlocal agreement. Do we have a draft, or is it going to be draft? I mean, it's a creature of statute, as you know, and there are some specifics that have to be in there, including an opt-out provision. So I'm just wondering the status of that document.
So it's completed, and there's, in my opinion, it's good to go.
And realistically, if this were to be implemented, are we talking 2021, 22, or 23?
That's a great question. It kind of comes down to the states when they get around to it.
Yeah.
I foresee the entirety, this is just an opinion, but the entirety of 2020 being an evaluation period to approve these nominations, and then 2021, it being a reality. But I can't promise that.
So having sat on the city side of the table for a lot of years, if I were representing any city right now, I would be looking at this thinking, if my assessor for whatever reason falls into non-compliance, I'm going to be notified by the state. I'll have an opportunity to take corrective action. And only if I fail then to take corrective action at that point would the county's designated assessor be stepping in to assist with the corrective action plan?
If you fail twice, so on your third year of trying to fix it. So you'll have your first issue of non-compliance, a chance to correct it. If you don't correct it, you get another chance to correct it. And if at that point, so
just for the group's understanding, no one is out of compliance at the moment. So the earliest that this potentially kicks into action is probably 2024.
Not even that, because I don't anticipate the first year of audits to start until 2024. So then, their first issue of non-compliance may be 2024, and then 2 more years down the road have to kick in the designated assessor. So absolute worst case scenario, this is out there. The problem is we've got to have this in place now.
So to the board, just as staff here, I absolutely compliment Warren for getting all of this together. I compliment Warren for finding a local who has the ability to act in his role. And then to the board, I just want to stress to you all, this is the definition of hurry up and wait. You'll be asked to take action to appoint or to create this role, but you're looking at probably 4 to 5 years before actually providing the service. And again, it won't cost the county anything to provide the service. The service is provided at the expense of a non-compliant local unit.
Got it.
Okay.
Does that stimulate any other questions or comments? Housekeeping detail, the interlocal has to be approved by corporate counsel before we vote on it next week.
He has been.
He does?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, well, with that, thank you.
Certainly.
And we'll move on to a committee report. Bill, are you ready?
Sure. PHSC met Monday afternoon at 1:30 via Zoom. We had 5 different resolutions that we have passed from the health department. They're on your on the consent calendar today. I think I reviewed them last week. Ongoing agreements with the with Eagle for water sampling, community stabilization, which is funding for many of the programs that the health department provides, application for medical marijuana grant for public education about marijuana, change in fee schedules, which is a routine annual thing, and then a special memorandum of agreement that will be entered into between the health department and Lakeland, Spectrum Lakeland, for those special refrigerators so we can get vaccines into Berrien County. We also approved second year of the hazardous waste agreement through the Parks Department. This is with a company that's been doing the work for us since 2017. We also took the opportunity to congratulate Jill Adams and the Parks Department for wonderful work during 2020. We have passed on, it's also on your agenda consent calendar, a 2% wage increase for 2021 for appointed officials and non-union employees of Berrien County. And then we had some board appointments we're going to talk about later on. So committee, anything else? Yes, Mamie.
You got her, Bill. Thanks.
Yes, Mamie.
I wanted to ask a question, and you said it. There is an agreement between Lakeland and Berrien County or Berrien County Health Department, and it says Lakeland. But when you said it, you said Spectrum Lakeland, and I wondered why Spectrum wasn't on that.
That was just me speaking from 50 years of experience.
So it is called Lakeland is correct. I wondered if that Spectrum needed to be added on that resolution when I was reading it.
Yes, their corporate entity now is Spectrum Lakeland Healthcare, and that was my misspeak for getting Spectrum first. They come first.
Okay, but the Lakeland is it's okay the way it's written. The resolution.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, just for clarity's sake, we met in person. I know we do a lot of Zoom meetings, but we did meet in person on Monday.
Thank you. Yes, we did meet in person with Ultimate Sacrifice, although we Zoomed ourselves too, as I recall, to the public.
But everybody lived through it and we're healthy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had a little cold.
Yes. And that's PHSC's report.
Okay. Any other questions for the Personnel and Human Services Committee? Hearing none, we will move on to public comments. And while we're queuing up to see if anyone's in the public comment chat room, is there any resolution anybody wants pulled, or are we going to go through the consent calendar as it's submitted on the agenda? I will take silence to mean the consent calendar is good to go. Manette, do we have anybody who wants to say anything about the resolutions?
No, I don't see, I've asked a couple of times, I'm gonna ask one more time. We've got 21 people watching today.
Wow.
Mac, I know that's busy, but I have a question on the requisition.
Okay,
This is in reference to 46707, the U.S. Postal Service.
all right.
And it said postage for delinquent tax bills. And the department is building and grounds. Shouldn't that be treasurer?
No. All of the postage goes through Building and Grounds office. That's why that's listed as Building and Grounds. They do the requisition. It's under them, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted?
So moved by Commissioner Scott.
Moved by Scott, is there support?
Supported by Commissioner Mamie Yarbrough.
Thank you. So moved by Scott, supported by Yarbrough, excuse me. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hugo,
Oh, he is gone.
he's gone.
Yep.
Okay, we'll come back and ask him one more time.
Hinkleman.
He said yes.
Oh, he had to leave? Okay.
LeJarrette,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Chickering,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas.
Sharon, so if you want to note 11:10 is when
11:10.
Mr. Hugo had to leave the meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Chris had to leave for another engagement. We're now back to the Personnel and Human Services Committee concerning approval of pension refunds and rollovers.
Yes, thank you, Mac. We have only one. We reviewed it, and it would be the opinion of the PHSC committee that this pension rollover be approved by the commission.
Yeah, they have to do roll
We need
call.
a motion, and then we have to have support, and then we do a roll call of PHSC only.
Bill, are you making that as a motion?
I am making that as a motion, sir.
I'll second.
Is there
Walrath.
supported by Volrath? Okay, moved by Chickering, supported by Volrath to approve the one pension refund rollover. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 3 yeas from the Personnel Committee.
Very good,
Thank
thank you. Bill, we're still with you on some board reappointments.
Yes, we have 2 board appointments that we would like to have approved by the commission. The first is for Jan Versaw, who is a reappointment. She started on 2017. She's had perfect attendance. It's our information that she is actually chair of this committee. And within the Parks and Recreation Committee, we would like to reappoint Richard Schenkel, who is the existing chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission and has been for the last 300 years.
That's Saint Nicholas.
They both do a great job for us, and as Mamie says, St. Nicholas is on our Parks Commission. So we would move the reappointment of those 2 individuals.
Okay, that is a motion by Commissioner Chickering to reappoint Jan Versaw to the Personnel and Human Services Committee, term expiring October 31, 2023, and to reappoint Dick Schinkel to the Parks and Recreation Commission Board for a 3-year term, which expires January 1 of 2024. Is there a second?
I'll
I will
second.
second that.
I think Volrath got their photo finished, but I think he was first. So moved by Chickering, supported by Volrath. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Freeling.
Yes.
Freeling. Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Yes. Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Borat.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Chickering.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas.
thank you. Commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything they would like to share with the group and the virtually assembled multitudes?
Mac, I would defer to anybody else that wants to speak, but I do have a report to give.
All right. Anyone have anything?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time or if you'd like for me to do this in other business.
Let's reserve it to other business and we'll hear from Mamie and then Ezra if no one else has a commissioner report.
Perfect,
Maybe,
thank you.
I
Did
don't
you have your
have,
hand up?
no, it's holding my glasses up so I can see better.
Okay. It's like when you're at an auction, you know, you move your hand and they say you just placed a bid. All right, Ezra, you're on.
All right. I took the trip to the White House to attend the COVID summit, and there were approximately 25 people that were invited. There were more people in the room, but I can't count congressmen, senators, governors and their staff and White House personnel. So of the people that were in the room, I think 10, 8 or 9, 10, I think were county commissioners. We had a few mayors there, had a state senator there, had a state health and human services director there. And the states that were being represented were Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, South Carolina, Alaska, Tennessee, New Jersey, Delaware, Massachusetts, South Dakota, Ohio, Florida, Louisiana, and Texas. That also included the governors, Governor DeSantis, Governor Abbott, Governor Edwards, and Governor Lee were there. The Surgeon General was there. And I know I'm going to crucify this name, but the Admiral, who was one of the main personnel from the military for the White House on this COVID. All right, I'll just spell his name, Girour, Girour. And then the 4-star general who is in charge of logistics and basically of shipping the vaccines out. The president spoke, the vice president spoke. I know I'm going to crucify this guy's name, but he was the head doctor in charge of COVID for the federal government. I believe it's Azur, and he spoke. But to get back to the general was chosen for this one purpose and this one purpose only. He is in charge of the distribution of the vaccine. And the CEOs of CVS and Walgreens and the CEO of UPS and FedEx, and there was one other shipping company there. I've never really heard of them before, but evidently they do a lot of mass shipping for the federal government and the military and that. And the reason that the general is in charge of the distribution is all of those companies, CVS, Walgreens, UPS, FedEx, and that other shipping company, they will be basically given access 24/7 to the military satellites for GPS tracking. Each package of vaccines that goes out will have a temperature sensor in the packaging, and it will also have a GPS tracker. They say they can 24/7, they can see where that package is within 3 feet. So they know when it gets out. According to the general, everything is all staged, ready to go throughout the United States. And as soon as the FDA gives approval to the Pfizer and the Moderna, the vaccines will hit where they're supposed to be within 24 hours. So I know that Berrien County is due 992, I believe is the count number. There are so many different levels of distribution. And I can't go through all of them, but Nikki has them down. I believe Brian has them, and they're grade rated. So what that means is that the very first 992 vaccines that Berrien County gets will be earmarked for medical staff. And not only medical staff, but hospital staff, all the way down to the janitors, whatever. Anybody that's working in the hospital, the vaccine is going to be available to them. From there, it gets taken to the next priority, which happens to be the assisted living care centers, nursing home, retirement places. And then after that, the next week, they can expect another shipment. These shipments will go out weekly. And as the vice president, usually the vice president of the president said, because of the population in your county, we could be Berrien County, which has a smaller population than, let's say, Kent County. We could actually be ahead of the curve in our shipments and our vaccine totals, and we could actually be vaccinated faster than probably a larger city because they've got more hospitals, they got more elderly, they got, I mean, every group has more. Mm-hmm. So that is a possibility. Months and months and months ago, the President of the United States met personally, either personally or via Zoom, with all 50 governors, and they submitted a plan. And according to the president, the plan has been set. They know how many vaccines are going to what state. They know how many vaccines are going to what areas of the state. So that is already set in stone. The general has that. He's ready to act as soon as it gets FDA approval. So with that being said, it was interesting because the general said, and Governor DeSantis said, that they will have right now, as of Tuesday, they have enough vaccines during their shipments every week so that by the end of February, 1st of March, 20 million Americans could be vaccinated. They expect well over 100 million Americans to have been vaccinated and or to have the opportunity to be vaccinated by midsummer. Now, those are the two that are waiting on FDA approval right now. There are 3 others that are waiting for approval. Like the Pfizer has to be shipped out in doses. I'm not sure exactly because they said 2 different numbers on how many doses they could send out at one time. But they have to be kept at a minus 77 degrees below zero. So in today, what we had talked about was our resolution for Lakeland Spectrum to have the vaccine storage. That's what that is. Every one of the shipping containers from FedEx and UPS and the other ones, they're already set up for the dry ice or the liquid ice that goes in there, which is all temperature sensitive, like I said, and GPS. And it's all done through an overnight process. Let's see, what else was there? Okay, the next thing that they were discussing was Dr. Azur. He spoke about the virus, and he was talking about the vaccines. And how they were able to make the vaccines was every virus has a signature. The one little thing that makes it what it is. And he said, we've identified that signature, so thus we can make the vaccine to go after it. He did it in a simple layman's terms, and I hope I don't destroy what he said, but he held up 2 cassette tapes. And he goes, this cassette is H1N1 and SARS. And the tape, the music on the tape is rock and roll. Then he held up the other tape in the other hand, and he said, this is COVID-19. And he said, the music on here is classical. He said, what you need to understand is both of these tapes are music, but they're vastly different than each other. So the H1N1 SARS vaccines will not work on the COVID-19. So they spoke in real general terms so that anybody could try to understand, and they weren't trying to talk above everybody. While we were there, the President of the United States signed an executive order, which was pretty cool because I didn't know that was going to happen. And a lot of fanfare and hoopla with that. It was quite amazing too, by the way. The desk that he used, that was crazy because when we walked in, we saw this big container. It almost looked like a big Foot Locker, something that a rock band would have their amplifiers or speakers in. And it was designated on the side of it, presidential signing table. It had its own box with foam in it and everything. When they got done, it got put right back in the box and got wheeled away. So it's amazing, what the heck they have to do to travel. But anyway, he did sign it. And it was an executive order saying that this vaccine would be for Americans first before it went overseas. I'm sure there was a lot of other things, but that's in general the gist of really what happened there. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Any questions, Brian?
Commissioner Scott,
Yes, sir.
I'm pulling up an image. Can you tell the group who's that?
The guy in the middle, that's the admiral that I butchered his name, Gior. And the lady that's standing next to me is a county commissioner from Will County, Illinois. And we were talking to the admiral, and it was interesting because we were talking to him about when I introduced myself to him. He says, and where are you from, Commissioner? And I says, I'm from the state of Michigan. And he looked right at me and he says, I am so sorry. And I go, well, whatever. That's all right. We'll live with it. And he was talking about the schools and how they should be open and things like that. Yeah, but that's who that is.
Thanks, sir.
Very good. Any other
Ezra?
questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I have parents that are in their 90s, so they're not in nursing homes.
Correct.
But when will that vaccine be available for them or anybody in their 90s around here, even if they're a VA or not? But when would it be, or when should we start making appointments to get it? Is it February?
Well, I don't know the exact answer to that. Nikki Britton has the listing, and they have all the different listings on the priorities. And that was all set by the federal government and Operation Warp Speed, along with input from all of the governors in the United States and how they wanted to do this. I am not exactly sure on that, but I would imagine that that is going to be a top priority for the elderly first, even before they do first responders. So I would say that would be pretty soon coming. Oh, and it was stated by the President of the United States and reiterated by the Vice President and the entire Operation Warp Speed team that these vaccines are free to all the Americans.
Amy, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a statement in that every Wednesday, Berrien County meets with the EOC. And the plan is that the vaccinations will be given to first responders, and then the nursing homes, and then the elderly. That is the plan. And then, after that, but it's already, the order is already set. And it will be given, this was interesting yesterday, that Nikki Britton was able to tell us it will come from various sources. Walgreens will be in it. CVC? CVS will be giving vaccinations. So it will be more than just a health department or a hospital or medical, but it will go also, many large amounts will go to those drugstores. And so, but the order will be just what I just said. They already know. So Mike, your parents would be soon.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. If there's nothing else.
Mr. Chairman, I would like Commissioner Meeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, 2 years ago, I guess it was almost last year, Israel, we both went to DC and you met this young lady there. We had dinner.
Yep.
Okay, well, now she happened to be the head party attorney who you met.
Yes.
Okay, so if you need it right there, I'll put a good word in for you. But okay, but I'm on the serious side. 4 years ago, I met Mr. Scott. First, we came at the same time, and we had a talk at the point. I'm trying to get all this together, and we had some in common. Mr. Scott, I made the motion last week for you to go to DC.
Yes.
I had a reason for that. One thing, like Mike, my mother's in a nursing home, and I wanted her, but I know Mr. Scott was going to bring something back. Then he did. He brought a lot of information back, and at the point, and I hope that next year when the new president and if we get a chance to go to the White House, that you will go with me. I just want that point, so I appreciate what you did, and I know you're going to do a good job. So I just wanted to say that to you at that point. And one other thing on the serious side, I forgive you for having an R behind your name. But just keep on, okay? Well, thank you for what you did, Mr. Scott.
Well, Donnie, the point is that in this county board, what I'm very proud of is that Democrats and Republicans, we do not have an R or D behind us when we make decisions for the county, because we try and do everything we can for the betterment of all of the constituents in the county, R, D, or I independent. We act as one.
I agree.
Thank you.
It's true.
All right, very good. If there are no other questions, we'll move on to the administrator to find out if he has anything to share with us today that he hasn't already shared.
So members of the board, over the last couple of days, we've had some communication between the chair, between members of the Sheriff's Department and the Emergency Operations Center. One thing that has been discussed is we are approaching the end of the calendar year, and there's been some discussion of the continuation of virtual meetings into the early part of 2021. It had been hoped that the Michigan legislature, prior to their holiday break, would offer a legislative fix that would allow Zoom or some variant of virtual meetings to occur as an amendment to the Open Meetings Act. Unfortunately, the legislature had to break for this week because of COVID-19 infection rates jumping. There is still a chance that next week the legislature could meet in an emergency session to take action on the Open Meetings Act issue. Now, with all that said, prior to the end of the calendar year, if there is no legislative fix, myself, the chair, have discussed the need to take action to ensure that not just Berrien County, but all 80 plus local units of government, cities, townships, villages, school districts, colleges, et cetera, are able to continue using that virtual meeting platform and be fully compliant with the Open Meetings Act. So what we're looking at is the board will be meeting next week and then just prior to the close of the calendar year. And I think we've got a plan that can be instituted if the legislature has not taken corrective action. Mr. Chair, is that a decent summary?
It is, and so the message to go out to all units of government is that we will, if necessary, make an emergency declaration so that as we head into the 2021 calendar year, they will be able to meet virtually in the event the legislature fails to extend the modification to the Open Meetings Act that will expire at the end of this month. Any questions, comments about that?
So I've got two more updates just very quickly. This afternoon, the Broadband Committee will be meeting with the team from Merit Network, and in short order, Merit Network will have some deliverables ready for Berrien County's usage. They are advancing on the survey rollout. They're advancing on the notifications out to the public, social media notices, news releases, etc. So we've got a bunch of stuff to work through this afternoon with Merit Network and the Broadband Committee. And then the last item, I'm actually going to defer to Sheriff Bailey, but he's got a nice announcement. He has the Reserve Deputy of the Year for 2020 has just been announced, and I'm going to pull up an image so you all can see the sheriff and our Reserve of the Year. So Sheriff, if you're ready, I will pull that image up.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I just want to recognize Gary Bleed. He was picked to be our Reserve Deputy of the Year. He's been with us for approximately 10 years. He's very dedicated, volunteers a lot because our reserves are not paid. They go through a reserve academy. They go through training once a month. So he when he's not working his full-time job, which is an airplane pilot for American Airlines. So he flies to Europe and Hawaii and all kinds of nice places. Then when he comes back on his time off, he volunteers and rides with our officers, works the festivals throughout the year. So we're very happy to have somebody with his caliber as our reserve office, and he was recognized by his peers on all the hard work that he has done, and he is the 2020 Reserve Deputy of the Year. Also want to recognize two citizens. We had these ceremonies, as you can see, in front of the jail with our mask on because of COVID. Two individuals on August 21st, we gave them the Good Samaritan Award. There was an accident on Hotchburger Road where a vehicle went off in a swampy area at quite a distance. Douglas Distrahaff and Jeff Robinson observed the accident, stopped, went out wading through mud up to their waist to assist the person in the vehicle. So today we gave them and recognized them for putting themselves in harm to go render aid to somebody. So those are the two things we did this morning out in front of the jail. But Gary Bleed, if you run into him, I know some of you know him, congratulate him.
Very good. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Did you have something?
No, sir.
All right. General public comments are now open. So we'll wait and see if anyone has anything to say. Under other business.
Yeah.
Mac,
Yes.
Ezra, I have something under other business also, but I'll defer to Terry. I know she was first, so.
All right. Well, let's see if we get any comments from out on the web, and then once we get through that, we'll move on to other business. Thanks. Anything?
No, there's nothing for the record, no.
Okay. Well, if something comes in while we're doing other business, we can go back to it. Other business, Terry, I know you had something, and then Ezra.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your time this morning. Today, I would like to challenge this board to join me, along with many others that are leaders here in Berrien County, in taking up what is called the Buy Local Berrien Challenge. I know that some of our colleagues from Kent County had started a challenge called the Takeout Challenge. And I was really intrigued by that. And then I discovered that our own Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber had taken it up one more notch and said, we need to support all of our local businesses. And so what they did was kicked off this Buy Local Berrien Challenge. And what it requires of an individual is to get takeout or a gift card from any small businesses that are currently closed due to the restrictions that we have for COVID, to post a photo of that purchase on your personal social media site. And also, if you'd like to go to the Buy Local Berrien Facebook group page, and sharing the hashtag of Buy Local Berrien Challenge. And then here's the important step: nominate 3 others to complete the challenge themselves and to do those same steps. I have already accomplished my challenge this morning. I stopped by, got myself a nice tall cup of coffee from Small Town Grounds, which is located in the city of Bridgman. And I would like to see if the rest of this board would be willing to join me in that challenge. For those who don't have social media, which I can't believe that would be possible, but it is true. Our IS department is willing to post on your behalf that challenge and to share that so that we can help to generate what needs to happen. And that's support our local businesses of Berrien County to make sure that in 2021, we're thriving here in Berrien County. Those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Appreciate you bringing that forward to everyone's attention. Ezra.
Mr. Chair, at this point in time, I would like to defer my other business speaking to the county clerk, Sharon Tyler. I believe she has some information that every one of our board members needs to hear.
Raise your right hand. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to swear you in next week. I'm going to send you an email next week. I've been very busy this week with the election, and it will continue on until 2021 with the audit. But I got more clarification on a virtual swearing in. So you will receive an email from me. I will need all of you and candidate-elects, and not the ones who are not running, who will be taking office in 2021. I will need a copy of your current driver's license so that I know who you are. You can either send it to me or Annette. I will also send you a copy of your oath. Please print that oath out and have it with you the day of the meeting. Then at the meeting, when it's time to swear you in, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. And then when we call off your name, at that point, you'll light up and I'll sit there and call your name and you'll have your oath. Then you will sign that oath. We will videotape this. I will maintain this in a file so there's no issues in the future, but please do not sign it until your name is called next week. So you will receive those items with instructions next week prior to the meeting. So make sure you print that oath off.
Sorry, you need to see them signing it. don't you?
Yes, I have to see you, and we gotta make sure that it shows you on tape signing it. So I will get closer to the screen to see you next week. So we're gonna have to see you visibly. So don't do it all at once. Thank you for that time.
Sharon, my question is, let's just say this is the oath and I'm on Zoom. How am I going to sign this?
Well, unless you put your camera, lean your camera down towards your hands so I can see it wherever your camera is.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is, now I'm going to sign it afterwards. And the sheriff has been very generous, and myself. We can either pick them up from you, or you can deliver them to admin. If you are in South County, you can drop them off at the South County building and I can collect them there.
If you don't feel comfortable sending your copy of your driver's license, if you want to come to the admin building, we will make a copy of it and make sure Sharon gets that in time for her to have it.
Right.
Mamie, question?
Yes, can you mail the oath to us? I can't, I don't have a printer. My printer is too old for iPad or for this other. Thing.
Yeah, we can get it dropped off to you. So we'll make sure you get it. I'll give it to Annette and we'll get to you.
Thank you.
But it'll probably be on Monday. I'm very swamped with still with the election.
You know, coming to or fro, call me and I'll come down.
We'll take care of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
If somebody's coming in for the meeting, just bring your driver's license in the building with you, which would be me anyway.
If we're gonna have people in the building, I just need to make sure we're gonna have enough space.
Yeah, and
But
we'd
I'll
need
let
to-
you know.
We'd need to know beforehand if you wanted to come, so we could make sure we could accommodate the safe distance stuff and whatnot. Now, was there something else under other business? Ezra?
Nothing. That's why I just wanted to give Sharon her time.
All right. Then we'll move on to announcements and reminders. If you have your agenda, you'll see that there's an admin meeting at 8 a.m. on the 17th, finance at 9:30 on the 17th, and then our board meeting at 10:30 on the 17th. Finance also on the 23rd at 9 a.m. and on the 31st to do the closeout of the books and the dump of anything that's left in various special and general fund budget accounts into our general fund. That's an annual thing. That's not anything new. Right now, we have our board meeting listed for the 31st. I'd like to change that to Wednesday, the 30th, to make sure that if we have to do an emergency declaration, we can dovetail the extension of that emergency declaration with the expiration of the current extension of the or amendment to the Open Meetings Act. So if the state doesn't address that, the plan would be for us to put an emergency declaration into place on the 23rd. I want to wait till the 23rd for two reasons. The current public health order out of Michigan DHS is set to expire on the 20th. We should have some idea about FDA approvals on the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines by then. And we'll be able, if I do that on the 23rd under my signature, it's good for 7 days. And then it would be up for the full board to take action on the 30th, at which point we could extend it out for however long we think is appropriate. But again, this is what we were talking about earlier, so that all local elected bodies know that we will do that if necessary to make sure they can continue meeting virtually into 2021. If the state legislature and the governor can't get together and get it done. So with that, is there any objection to changing that last board meeting of the year from Thursday the 31st to Wednesday the 30th at 10:30 in the morning? And we would also move the COVID briefing from Wednesday at 11 a.m. to Tuesday, the 29th at 11 a.m.
I messed that up too, because finance was be on the 30th as well.
Yeah, so just to clarify, sir, if the Board of Commissioners are willing to meet on the 30th, we would also ask that the finance meeting occur just prior, so that would also be on the 30th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that okay, Mamie?
Yes, I'd like for it all to be the same. And so then what does that do to the EOC?
The COVID meeting would be moved up one day from Wednesday at 11 to Tuesday, the 29th at 11 a.m. And then finance would meet Wednesday, the 30th at 9 a.m. Full board Wednesday, the 30th at 10:30 a.m.
Okay.
Everybody on board with that?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I'm correct, I just make sure that everybody's on the same page. On Wednesday, the 23rd, you, if need be, as the county executive, you're going to sign that emergency order. That would then expire on the 30th, correct?
Yes.
Then at our board meeting on the 30th, then we would approve an extension, but for how long?
Well, we'd figure that out between now and then. My thinking is we can extend it out for a while and we can always terminate it if circumstances warrant. So I would think we'd want to do an extension for 90 days or something like that, get us through the coldest part of the year. But then if the state steps up and takes care of it, and there's nothing else going on that would warrant the continuation of that declaration, we can cancel it.
Okay, that was my concern because I know your ability is for 7 days. I didn't know I couldn't remember what this board's ability was, because if it was for 7 days, that would expire on the 6th before our organizational meeting on the 7th. But if you're saying we can make it for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days, the board
Right.
can do that, then we're going to be covered. That's all I needed to find out. Thank you.
We'll be okay.
Yep, good. Because it's all about the dates right now,
Yeah, correct. Did you have something?
There's somebody on here.
Oh, there is we're going to step back for a moment to general public comments. One just came through.
This is from Eric Lester in St. Joseph Township. I would like to urge that all meetings be made available to the public via Zoom, YouTube permanently. This will enhance attendance and transparency of government. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to announcements and reminders. Mamie, did you have something?
Yes, because I see where the Finance Committee has a meeting on December 23rd at 9 a.m. Is that still so?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So here's what we're doing. We're changing the posted meeting on the 31st to be posted instead on the 30th at 10:30 a.m. That's for the full board. So our remaining meetings this year, this term, will be next week, Thursday, the 17th, at 10:30. And then we aren't going to meet on Christmas Eve. I think we're closed. I hope we're closed.
Yeah.
And then we'll meet on Wednesday, the 30th. So we have 2 meetings left for the full board. The committee meetings are as noted on the agenda, except the last finance committee meeting of the year will be on the 30th instead of the 31st at 9 a.m. And the clerk will make such adjustments as necessary on the website and elsewhere to reflect that our final meeting of the year is on the 30th and not the 31st. As chair, I so direct that that meeting date be changed. Does anyone have anything else for the good of the cause? All right, if not, we stand adjourned as of, looks like 11:59 a.m. to Thursday next at 10:30 a.m. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mac, you also.
Thank you.
Hey, Terry. There's somebody that just wrote on here. Thank you, Commissioner Freeling, for encouraging everyone to take the Buy Local Variant Challenge and support our local businesses during this difficult time.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank her.
Go out, buy local.
Okay, I'm not.
She was still on here, so.
Okay, all right. I just want.
Thanks, Annette.
Terry,